on opposing sidelines at Mile High Stadium in Denver as the Chicago Bears visited the Denver Broncos, and what a difference a year makes. Broncos in the Super Bowl last year, the Bears struggling. It's the other way around. Nice week for Reeves and John Elway, wasn't it, Tom, in Denver? First quarter, though, Elway says, I want to be involved in the game plan. Dan says, all right. And he finds Mark Jackson for 33 yards, setting up a Treadwell field goal, and the Broncos grab an early 3-0 lead. Ditka calling the plays for the Bears. Jim Harbaugh's young quarterback throws it in the end zone. And watch Neil Anderson. This is unbelievable. But the replay shows that Anderson was out of bounds and came back in. They settled for a Butler field goal. It's 3-3. Vance Johnson left the game early with a bruised foot. He came back third down as Elway finds him for a big hookup to keep the drive alive, settling for a Treadwell field goal. Broncos, for the 9th time in 10 weeks, they lead at the half, 6-3. Bears having trouble getting it going, but the Bronco fans know what happens in the second half. Bobby Humphrey, stuck by Mark Carrier, fumbles, the Bears recovered, settle for a field goal, we're tied at 6. Bears lead the NFL in turnover plus-minus ratio, plus 16. Elway, every interception this year's come in the second half. That from Jim Light My Fire Morrissey. Then Brad Muster carries the ball in from the 10, and the Bears lead at 13-7. Wade Phillips' defense playing well, but they finally broke down. Fridge helping Ron Cox get some oxygen. That'll help you breathe. Fourth quarter. Here's Ron Cox from the weak side, Tommy.
Coming from that weak side, and that's the spot that would be occupied by Gerald Perry, so they definitely missed him today.
And that was Dent coming in on the same side that you mentioned. Elway to Mark Jackson with 4 minutes to go, and the Broncos down by a touch. Elway takes it himself, gets the hit, but keeps on ticking, goes into the end zone. We're tied at 13. The Bears drive down the field. 41-yarder at the end of the game. It is doink. It's off the post. We're going to overtime. In overtime, Broncos won the toss, had the ball first. They played for 13 minutes, but this time, no post, just a 44-yard field goal for Kevin Butler. The Bears and Mike Ditka beat Dan Reeves and the Broncos 16-13. And the Bears' only blemish on their season, a loss early on to the Raiders. The Broncos fall further into the basement of the AFC West at 3-7. Everybody's looking to that Niners-Giants game in a couple weeks on Monday night, December the 3rd. We throw out this scenario just to think about. If the Bears win all their remaining games and the Giants and the Niners win all their remaining games except somebody has to lose that December 3rd game, it is possible that the loser of the Niners-Giants game could be 15-1, but would be the 3rd seed in the NFC playoffs, would have to face an extra game in the playoffs, and probably would only be home for one game. It never occurred to you that the loser of that game at 15-1 could be the 3rd seed in the NFC, but that's looking ahead.
Game tied. Back came the Broncos, though, as Mike Ditka looked on from the Bears sideline, and with 3 minutes left to play in the half, they regained the lead on Treadwell's second field goal of the half, and that's where it stayed at halftime, 6-3, Denver leading. The Broncos, though, had unraveled in the second half a lot this season, and it happened again this afternoon. Bobby Humphrey plastered by Mark Carrier. The ball comes out, and the Bears recover. That set up yet another field goal try, this one by Kevin Butler from 32 yards out. Right through with 5:04 to play in the third. The game tied again, 6-6. 2 plays later, the Bears had the football back again. Elway back to throw, pressured by Dan Hampton and intercepted by Jim Morrissey. Bears in business at the Denver 40-yard line. This time they get a touchdown. Neil Anderson gained over 100 yards today, but Brad Muster got the score on 2nd down and 7 from the 10. He blew in there to make it 13-6 Bears with 8 seconds to go in the third. And with the Chicago defense working over the Broncos on D, it looked like the Bears would have this one put away. Ron Cox with a couple of sacks today put Elway down here, and the Bears were still in charge, but with 1:14 left, the Denver quarterback finally got him in the end zone. He took him there himself on a quarterback draw. 13-13 tie, 1:14 to play in regulation time. The Bears, though, still had a chance to win it. They worked it down the field, 3 seconds left. Kevin Butler, a 40-yard field goal try. Hooking left, it hit the left upright right in the middle and bounced back. Overtime, 13-13. The defense had to go back to work. William Perry trying to jumpstart Ron Cox on the sideline, and it worked. Another sack on Elway by Cox, who had his best game of his young NFL career. Rolling to the right, Cox ran him down inside the 20. The Broncos never did have a chance and had to kick from way back in the end zone. Johnny Bailey back to receive this one, just on the other side of the 50, and one of Bailey's best punt returns of the season. Across the 40, across the 35, 34-yard line, already in field goal range. And then Butler, with a chance to redeem himself, does it from 44. And the Bears go to 9-1. The final score, 16-13. They knock off Denver in overtime. Double drama today for Kevin Butler, who just as soon go home and forget about this game after missing the initial opportunity to win the game, even though he did come through the second time around. More now from Kevin and the rest of the Bears in the post-game report from Sid Garcia.
The defense wanted for the Bears. A fumble recovery and an interception led to the tying and go-ahead scores in the third quarter.
Yeah, well, I think this will give us a little more confidence going into the stretch of the season. I think we're capable of winning a lot of games, and as long as we play together, like I said, we'll be all right.
Denver's only scoring drive in the second half was the Bears' only blemish on defense. The Broncos had their chances to win it in regulation, but the Bears' defense held, sacking any Bronco threat.
Well, when you face good teams like a Denver, you have to make sure you don't leave anything uncovered. And I think with the pressure we had up front and the coverage, you needed both in conjunction to make things work for you.
Kevin Butler's try to win it in regulation gave the Broncos new life. That was short-lived in overtime as the Bears' defense came through once again.
During the process of the game, we started getting back in the corner, so I had to try to reach down inside and, pull something out of the hat, and I just kept the faith and kept on playing hard, and good things turned out for him.
All Kevin Butler prayed for was a second chance to redeem himself.
I was praying for Richard Dent to get a sack. I was praying for anybody to get out there with a win because, they played too hard to come out here and to let it slip away on a field goal that hits the upright. So, hats off to the guys. They did a great job. I just came in and did my job.
It's hard to have a team win, and it's hard to have a team lose under these circumstances because I feel so close to Dan. But we've set some goals for our team early in the year, and we're trying to reach them. And we had some added incentive. We had a dear friend of ours who passed away Saturday morning, and showed joy. But I really don't have anything else.
That special fan was 12-year-old Becky Bell, who died of cancer. Reporting from Denver, I'm Sid Garcia, WGN News.
A sad footnote to what otherwise was a happy day for the Bears in Denver. Again, they win it by a final score of 16-13.
And the game that remains their lifeblood. Unfortunately, it's not exactly a stress-free environment. On Sunday, neither the Bears nor the Broncos reached the end zone until the second half, when Chicago head guard Tom Thayer, number 57, to thank for providing escort service for fullback Brad Muster.
Gives to Muster, off the left side, cuts it back to the ball. And he left two.
The Bears' 13-6 lead held up well into the final period before Broncos quarterback John Elway took matters and the football into his own hands.
The 5-yard line, he goes for a touchdown. John Elway was hit at the 2-yard line by Tate.
With less than a minute to play in regulation, the Bears made their move toward the go-ahead score. Neil Anderson's key catch and run moved the ball into position for the winning field goal off the foot of kicker Kevin Butler.
41-yard field goal attempt. Slight angle to the left side. Kick by Butler, rises to the upright, and it is hit the left upright and bounded away. No good. We will go to overtime.
Oh, wow.
Hit the upright and came back the other way.
Oh, wow.
The Broncos had every opportunity to score in overtime. 3 times they had possession, but never got beyond their own 35. For this, the most thankful man in Denver was Kevin Butler, who was granted a second chance to provide the game-winning points.
To the upright, and it is Kevin Butler with a line drive.
It wasn't pretty, was it?
The Bears' win drove the Broncos deeper into the cellar and solidified Chicago's position at the top of the NFC Central.